and welcome to One Patriots Place Live, brought to you by E2G And if you are listening on podcast, thank you for downloading. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your hosts today, the stupendous Steve Balistreri, the marvellous Thomas Murphy. I am Clare Cooper, and we are greatly happy. Really happy? Yeah, that'll do. We are greatly happy to be welcomed by our lovely guest today. We welcome in. It is rumoured on this show that he kind of looks a bit like a young Sean Connery. He is covering sports for WBZ in Boston. The cheeky chappy that is Michael Hurley. Michael, welcome back to the show. How are things with you?
Excellent. Thanks for having me back. I think it's pretty rare for any podcast to have me back or any show to have me back. So I'm honored to be here a second time.
Well, if you get Claire to give you some English lessons, maybe you could be the next Bond.
Yeah, that's a smart, I need to start targeting old actors and be like, I'm a young version of him, because there aren't many people I can say I'm a young blank. So it's a good strategy I've just picked up.
Yeah, wait until you're Steve and my age. You know, Claire's the only one that can get away with young around here anymore. Michael, it's good to have you back. Good to see the beard back. It always scares the hell out of me when I tune into NBC Sports Boston and I see a clean-shaven Michael Hurley. It's just, whoa, what happened? Somebody turned back the clock, you know. But thank you again for making the time. And we would have you back every single week if you would be here, to be honest.
That's nice of you. I appreciate that. On the beard, like once or twice a year, I just like to see, like, check in on the face. And every time it just keeps getting worse and worse. My wife doesn't like it. My kids don't like it.
That was my question.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I gotta just see what's going on, and every time there's like more marks, and it's just not. So here we go.
I remember I was like 6 years old
many moons ago.
Yeah, I was like 6 years old, and my dad came back from Washington, and he left with a full beard and mustache, and he came back without it because his boss in Washington told him to shave that thing, and he came back, and I was like, who the hell's this guy? Who is what? What? I think I ran away. So I don't think that happens with your kids. Maybe just dad get the whiskers back. Do people still say whiskers?
I can't say that I do.
No.
Sorry, Murph, I think that might be aging you a little bit.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Unless you're talking about a kitty cat, then that's different.
Well, I will never be talking about a kitty cat. So Claire, go ahead, kick it off.
So, it is the hot topic, and I read your fantastic article. I did. I loved it. Actually, I'll take this opportunity to quote my favourite line. The Patriots started Jacoby Brissett's career, and they also appear intent in ending it. Or technically, the quote that you didn't want to make, I guess, was more the case. But have you got Zappy fever?
Yeah.
Do you just want Mac back? Or are you being kind of more rational, more normal, more regular, and just seeing how it is? Where's your QB standing then? Please grace us with your intellect.
Well, first, I'm glad that you enjoyed the Jacoby Brissett line, but for the record, it was in there as something I did not tweet. So credit to me for not tweeting such a crass thing out. It's disrespectful. I didn't tweet it. I just wrote about how I didn't tweet it. I wrote about how you didn't write it yet. Yeah, it really made me laugh. I'm sorry, as a Patriot, it really made me chuckle. So thanks for that. I really enjoyed it. All class here. No, I mean, the quarterback thing is interesting because, and I put in that story, like, I'm not a Mac Jones defender. I'm not in his family. I think there are countless examples of first-round picks at quarterback that don't work out long-term, and I listed them all there, whether you go Blake Bortles or Jake Locker or Sam Bradford, or you can just go right. I mean, I put like 12 to 15 guys just from the past 12 years in there. So I'm not coming at it from the like unquestioned Mac Jones quarterback forever. I'm just looking at it as I think people are caught in the moment. To try to say that Mac Jones wouldn't have played like that against the Lions and the Browns is just really getting swept up in this. And it's kind of spoiling the moment because in my opinion, you've got Bailey Zappi playing like better than you could have ever expected him. Mm-hmm. People don't realize he didn't even get a uniform the first 3 weeks. He was inactive. And then he goes to Green Bay and he's playing in the first quarter and getting strip sacked by Rashawn Gary because playing behind Isaiah Wynn right now is a liability. He's playing out of his mind, and that is a good thing. And it'll probably will put a little pressure on Mac Jones naturally. But to anyone suggesting that there should be a unseating when Mac's healthy, I think that's just going overboard.
Quick follow-up.
Amen.
Do you think, completely agree, yeah, amen, as Steve would like to say. Do you see this as Mac doesn't need to rush, or Mac does need to rush back? And do you think it is something that will kind of push him to maybe come back too soon? Do you have that concern that maybe a lot of fans have, that, yeah, it's great having a bit of competition. It's great that they've got this, you know, a good backup quarterback, if that's what you want to class Sappy as. But is there a concern that it pushes Mac back too soon in regards to his injury? And we're going to have a guy back who's not 100% when they actually have the option to have him back at 100% because the backup's not so bad.
Right. No, and I think that's like, I've been concerned about that the whole time. When they're trotting Mac out there at practice, when he can barely walk, it seemed, I'm sure they're not injuring him further, but it just seems like he should be resting. He should be lying down. He should be belly up. And you respect him and his tenacity and his toughness for wanting to be out there. But that is a concern. And like you said, like if the four of us were to sit around and strategize Monday night against the Bears, who absolutely suck. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. If you watch the Thursday night game, God bless you, because it was a slog.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So
that was, oh God.
That is a game where you outright, you know, if the four of us are talking and being reasonable, you don't need Mac Jones to win that game. And you could get 2 more weeks of rest for him to get 2 more weeks of healing to an injury that's 4 to 6 weeks, and you're only at 4 weeks. That is what we would do. But I honestly don't think the Patriots and Bill Belichick look at it that way. I think if you're healthy, if you're cleared, then you're in the pool to play. You know, there's not degrees of healthy. I don't think Bill's looking at it, well, if Mac's 80% and he could be 90% if it's just, is he playing? So I don't think that they will weigh it, but I mean, I would, just because of how bad next week's opponent is.
Do you think that the competition within the NFL is just so severe that it pushes players who are injured back maybe a little bit too early?
I mean, we've had a rather high-profile incidence of that this year with Tua. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the culture. And, I mean, he's already cleared concussion protocol and wants to play again, whereas, I mean, this is kind of a soft, babyish thing to say. But, like, imagine if that's your kid and he's out there and you see him stumble and no one takes care of him and no one treats him, no one properly diagnoses, they make up a back injury, and then 4 days later he's convulsing on the field and getting stretchered off. I mean, I wouldn't want my kid to ever play again, yet Tua is obviously going to be back in there probably next week, which is its own thing. But so, yeah, I mean, that is the culture of football, and it's one thing when it's an ankle. It's a completely different thing with the head, so we're talking about two different things here. But, I mean, that could derail his season if he goes out there and gets hit and can't move right and disrupts it and makes it worse. I don't see how that makes him better for the rest of the season. I don't know how that makes the Patriots better for the rest of the season, because for as good as Zappy looks, I think Cooper Rush on Sunday night provided a blunt reminder that there is an expiration date on your backup just whirling and swirling and wowing everyone. Like at a certain point, it does run out. So I think you want Mac healthy for the rest of the year. That's why, I mean, maybe I'm being a worrywart, but I would rest him next week against Chicago.
The biggest concern is if you send him back too soon and he re-injures himself in a different way, then you're talking 2 problems, not just one. I mean, it's just to kind of throw it out there. If he's not as mobile as he needs to be because of his ankle, does it end up him taking a really bad sack? And then we're talking a concussion problem. It's, you know...
Plus, what if he's bad? What if he's bad? You know, what if he throws off the back foot? He doesn't step into his throws. Like, I mean, week 1, the interception of Devontae Parker in the end zone, I thought he wasn't rushed, but he just threw that off the back foot. He didn't step into it, and it was picked. What if he does that? And you know, it's a home game. Maybe it's 3-3 at halftime. The crowd's getting a little antsy. It creates that whole drama. I mean, it's good for someone in my position, but if I'm running the team, I don't think that's what I would want. I don't know that they worry about such a thing, but I think it is a consideration. If he's not capable of playing at a high level, why rush it? You have a guy that can do a serviceable job.
Exactly.
Done.
You sure?
Right. Yeah.
I'm
going to sit here now with a finger on my lip.
Perspective there.
I was about to sit back and pour another coffee. That was great. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Michael, you know, there was a lot of hand wringing going on from the spring through training camp into the first couple of weeks of the season about play calling. And I really don't think it's been an issue, play calling per se. Is it time to put that narrative to bed?
To a degree. I think that what was described during training camp was this absolute abomination of a clown show. I was picturing like the Little Giants coming out and like running into the banner, getting knocked down, running into each other, boogers all over the place. So, I mean, honestly, I felt a little cheated when the preseason started and they looked like a football team. I was like, what the hell is this? But no, I mean, they have been, I think, fine where that was not the expectation. We can't discount the quality of defenses or lack thereof the past couple of weeks, but I mean, to me, what we've learned is that the floor of the Patriots is never going to be, as long as Bill Belichick's there, the bottom of the league. Like they are always going to be better than your Lions and your bad Browns with their backup quarterback, et cetera, that they're not going to drop to that low. And I will say, like, in July, maybe I thought there was a chance of that, given, all that was coming out of training camp. But it's certainly a capable, functional offense. I don't think it's a championship offense. I don't think it's an explosive offense or an altogether creative offense. But, there's a lot of talent, and it's maybe simple, but it's working.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, just the whole thing since the spring, I was like, well, how can we qualify this as an absolute disaster when they haven't taken a snap yet? That was my whole point. I mean, let's let it play out and see. If it's a disaster, then by all means, I mean, complain all you want, but that was my whole point. It was like before you qualify something as a disaster, and again, you're dealing with Bill Belichick, who knows a little bit more about football than most of us. That leads me to my second question. Belichick's draft this year was equally panned, not only locally, but nationally as well. I mean, I know some people said the Patriots had the worst draft of anyone, and so far it's still only 6 games in the season, but the rookies all seem to be progressing quite well, I think.
Yeah, how you like me now, Sean McVay?
Yeah,
the Rams could do with a Cole Strange on their line.
That's true.
Good.
No, that's very true. I mean, my reaction with Cole Strange was like, I mean, maybe he is excellent. Maybe he's the next Logan Mankins, but they needed a few more things than that. But they are filling in with guys that maybe I didn't expect Jack or Marcus Jones to play in the secondary as rookies. They are. What we've seen from Tyquan Thornton, I mean, he's still, just as like my pea-brain football watching, like every time he's on TV, I'm like, good Lord, that man is so skinny. He's so skinny. But he's fast and he's good. And think about, all of the receivers.
Not afraid to block either.
I guess I haven't keyed in on that. I'll have to take a second look at that, but I believe you. But think about all the receivers they've drafted in the top 3 rounds. Have they ever had a game with a receiving and rushing touchdown? They have not. So a good second game, we'll call it a debut. But on the road, I think that's encouraging. Right on down the line to get, and let's not discount. Let's say they didn't draft Bailey Zappi. Where would they be right now? I don't know. They would have been scouring. Garrett Gilbert would be in there. It would be tough. So that's like another sneaky find that I think they get credit for.
Go ahead, Claire.
I know. Ryan Fitzpatrick would come out of retirement because he's never played for the Patriots.
Yep.
Right.
Not for the Patriots.
Round out the AFC East.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's it.
Doesn't he want to get the whole set though? Really? Yep. So yeah,
think about how that would look. Like I'm sure he has a very nice basement, just with all his jerseys. Like he could have a whole AFC East corner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be worth it just for that alone. He could fake an injury after a week, and he could still say he played for the Patriots.
This is it. Who doesn't want to say they played for the Patriots? I mean, come on.
He's a Harvard guy. Come back to the roots.
Did
you know that? They never say that on the podcast.
Thank you for filling us in on where he went to college.
Yeah, it's right. It's like a quarter mile that way, right behind me. I could bring the computer there if you want.
Even I knew that. Wow, even I know that he went to Harvard. Now I feel like, wow, super duper. Even I knew that. And I'm sorry, quickly throw this in. Chris, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Cam
Chris.
Newton,
yes.
No.
You want to know what's funny?
No.
I have to, you were kind of saying like there's a comeuppance for anyone that was, overly questioning the Patricia setup or Joe Judge setup and the draft too. Full disclosure, if I was running this team, the quarterback room would be Cam Newton and Justin Fields right now. So, would not have worked out as well. My genius failed me on that one.
That return to the show ticket that you've got for like the next. Let me just get hold on. Let me just.
Michael, I'll be, as long as we're doing full disclosure, when Drew Bledsoe got hurt in 2001, I was not on the Brady bandwagon. I was on Michael Bishop.
Oh, a lot of people were. He had the Hail Mary, and that sticks with people. But yeah, I mean, listen, it would be a bad quarterback room with Cam and Justin, but like the swag levels would be off the chart.
Off
the
Instagram,
unreal Instagram action. So not the worst thing in the world.
Oh yeah, because that's what wins us championships. Instagram action.
Yes.
Heard it here first, folks.
All right, let's talk about this game. Michael, do you feel that Damian Harris was missed in this game? I think the output by the running backs, it's really hard to nitpick with the outcome of the game, but I really believe that Damian Harris's absence on Sunday, excuse me, Claire.
I've seen something in the comments that made me laugh. I very much apologize for being very unprofessional.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Do you think he was missed on Sunday? We didn't see much more of anyone other than Ramondre, who was fantastic.
I mean, no, but only because of Ramondre. I think it's funny. You go through the history of Patriots running backs, and some of them get that red shirt year, some of them don't. Ramondre didn't, and I think you're seeing the benefits of that this year. Where I think Damian Harris is a hell of a player, but I don't know that he would have had much of an impact beyond what Ramondre did, based on the Browns basically gearing up and saying, Bailey Zappi's not going to beat us, is he? And he did. So I think that was the Browns' defensive game plan. I did put in my story one of the best 1-yard runs you'll ever see. Ramondre Stevenson gets it off right tackle, and there's just a defensive back there. And all of a sudden, Ramondre has the line of scrimmage, and the safety is like 6 yards in the backfield. Like, it was like an explosion happened. But I love Ramondre Stevenson as a player.
Me too.
He is. I like this opportunity for him too, because I think he had that long run a few weeks ago. Was it the Lions game? Again, the brain. Yep. Where it feels like he's liable to do that at any moment, because that quick cut ability at the line of scrimmage, when a linebacker's closing in on him, when a defensive lineman has his hand on his butt, all of a sudden he's in a different direction. He's gone. I think he's a hell of a back. So as much as I like Damian Harris as a running back, like, this, no knock on him, I just think Ramondre is almost just as good.
Were you upset that we didn't see any of Cole Strange? Yeah, we didn't hear Cole Strange's name all day. Give him the ball. Pierre Strong on Sunday. I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to be able to do against this Browns defensive front.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised, because again, going back to that red shirt situation, is it rare? Would you say it's rare for a Patriots rookie running back to get much action? I feel like the answer is yes, even though maybe Ramondre broke the mold. It seems a little bit rare. Maybe with them, it's always pass protection too. Like, if you can't get your pass protection down, you're not going to get in the field. JJ Taylor, I think, is a guy we've all enjoyed seeing with the ball in his hands, but
he can't block.
Yeah, and Ivan Fears was big on it and did his best, but not every guy gets the Patriots' complexities. So maybe that factored in. Maybe Ramondre's reliability factored in, but maybe you'll get to see a little bit more Monday night. Because again, I just want to reiterate, the Bears, real bad at football.
Bad at footballing.
Keeping it with running backs, Mike, who's your kind of number two? Especially if Damian Harris is kind of out for a while, or we don't see him for a while. Obviously, Ramondre is the top. Mondre is the top. Who are you seeing as sort of, in your opinion, the second running back? Is it more Kevin Harris? Is it Strong? Kind of JJ Taylor? I know you just touched on him that can't block. Who would be your pick for number two, really?
I think Kevin Harris fits more in line with just a standard running back for the Patriots. I think Pierre Strong's more intriguing to me. coming out of the small school. What did he have? I want to get his stats from South Dakota State, but it was something like 9 million yards in college. I don't have it, but he's an intriguing, small school type of guy that, is the typical Belichick needle in the haystack, great find type thing. So I think he's more intriguing maybe in the long run, but maybe as a short-term fix as a rookie, Harris might make more sense. The Patriots could save money on their stitching and just give him Damien's jersey, which is big. The budgets down there in Foxborough are getting a little fat. So anything to save a couple bucks, I think, Harris makes sense. But again, as long as Stevenson's healthy, like they're not, we talked earlier about how they might view Mac and his health and 70, 80%, whatever. I think if Stevenson's on the field, they're not going to be like, oh, well, we shouldn't use him a lot. He might get hurt. Like, look at, I present to you Julian Edelman's entire career as evidence that they will never stop overusing someone for fear of injury. They'll just keep going to him forever. So I think if they go in next week with that same running back group, it'll probably look a lot like it did Sunday.
Yeah, and I think part of that redshirt year, excuse me, tends to be the third down backs, the Shane Vereen's, the, James White kind of guys. The big bruising backs, you can go back to, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, Stephen Ridley. Those kind of guys get play in their rookie year. And that's why I think Ramondre got a lot of play. That's why I think they're using Harris, as you mentioned. I mean, it's those third down guys that they have a lot more responsibility. And Bill touched on that last week in one of his press conferences, and I can't remember which day it was, but he talked about there's so many responsibilities in the passing game for the backfield. And that's why they're probably going to limit Pierre Strong's reps, I think.
Yeah, keeping it on Strong, he averaged 7.2 yards a carry in college.
Didn't he have 9 touchdowns over 50 yards?
Yeah, 9 touchdowns over 50 yards, 4,527 yards in 4 years. Oh, my
Not
God.
bad.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
40 touchdowns. So, yeah, no. It's a please. We're just itching to see this kid on the field. At least I am, and I thought I was going to get it last week. Maybe this week against them Bears.
One more thing on the Ramondre point is it stuck out to me looking at Sunday's game. Your two biggest offensive contributors were both fourth-round picks in the past 2 years with Ramondre Stevenson and Bailey Zappi. It's just a reminder. They clearly had some bad drafting from 2017 to 2020. Yeah. It's like this is what it's like when you have good drafts. Imagine if they didn't have those two guys. It's almost the whole game is completely different.
It really is. I made the point yesterday on Mike Diabate's show that this year we're seeing a lot more of the rookies out of need, and in the past I believe that the draft, I don't want to say was overlooked, but there was so much talent in front of these guys that they had a difficult time getting on the field. They were draftees that were brought into teams that were already competing for at least an AFC championship, never mind a Super Bowl every single year. And it was difficult to get the reps. Tom Brady set a standard here where while he was on the field, be it in a game or at practice, he never wanted to come off. And that trickled down to everybody else. It was really difficult to get the first team off the field, even in practices, and get these young kids reps and let them develop. Some of that might play into it, but again, I just hate feeding into the Bill is a terrible GM narrative. I think it's lazy, and I just don't agree with it. How good was it to see, Zappi get back to the old ways of my favorite receiver is the open receiver?
Yeah, I mean, you haven't seen Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith both with 60 yards in a game. That was, granted, I think 50 of it was on Jonnu Smith's yak on that one play.
Yeah. But
it still counts. And another 39 of it was when a defender just fell over, leaving Hunter Henry wide open with an entire football field in front of him.
Right.
But it's about doing what's there, and he did what was there. As much as, I joke about the yak, the pass to Jonnu Smith was between the second and third levels. The safety was there. The linebacker was there. It was a nice ball, a little behind him, but it was a safe pass. and that's what the name of the game is when you're the backup, is not turning it over. So to me, it's more about safe throws. There was a throw, was it last week? Again, my brain, I apologize. It was the Detroit game.
It's better than my brain.
Look at the group that you're talking with. Right. No need to apologize.
Fair enough. I think it was last week against Detroit. It was an early third down, and it might have been Henry streaking across. It might have been Aguilar streaking across, actually. And it was a tight window, and he actually, it was incomplete, but he went for it. He tried to fit in a tight window. It was a pretty good throw. It was just a good play by the linebacker or whoever was in coverage. And it was like, he's not afraid, which I think is the biggest thing that stood out with Zappe. Is he's safe and cautious, but he's also not afraid, and he's not overwhelmed at all. So those are the things that I don't think until they're out there. Like, you can like a kid coming out of the draft. You can like the way he played at Western Kentucky or what was it, Texas Baptist Community College in front of like 3,000 people. Yep. Stepping in at Lambeau and just handling it. Like, you don't know if someone could do that until they do it. So I think the Patriots learned a lot about him, and we are, just like we all are. So to me, it's more than anything with him, it's about the composure and the moxie. And if the rest of it can develop, you might have a quarterback.
One thing that I've really enjoyed over the past 2 weeks is watching the way Devontae Parker is being used in the offense. What do you think of that? Why the switch?
Two things stood out to me with Parker against the Browns. One was that first drive when he went up and got that jump ball. There haven't been, I'm not trying to like put Devontae Parker in the Hall of Fame by any means, but there haven't been many Patriots receivers who could do something like that that we've seen throughout this whole run, 20 years. I mean, Randy Moss could do it. I'm not putting Parker on the level, but you at least can understand why the Patriots targeted him, went out and got him, because that ceiling, while it isn't always evident, when it does show, it's game changing. And then beyond that, the way they used him was just using his big body to catch slants, which is huge. I mean,
but you didn't see that in the first 3 games.
No, you only saw the jump balls.
Right. You only saw the jump 50-50 balls. And it's just giving me, a huge smile to finally see him being used in this way, because I think this is what the Patriots need, is those slants, those crossers, and getting him involved, because he is the most talented receiver on this team.
Yep. And I think Sunday was evidence of that. We could have maybe had that debate a week ago.
Yep.
But it's clear that when he's at his best, there's no one on the team like him. And if you can use him in that, like, you're right, using him just as a jump ball guy is kind of a waste.
It's a waste.
It's kind of a crapshoot. And again, it cost you points in week 1. What was it? 3 interceptions for Mac thrown at Parker through the first couple of weeks.
Yep.
Or 3 weeks, I should say. But the point is, I think it's a more maybe stripping. I think, honestly, to get back to the question earlier about Patricia, I keep saying McDaniels, his name is Patricia, and Joe Judge and that whole thing. I wonder if simplifying it for the quarterback has simplified it for them as well. Not to call them idiots. They're not idiots. They're very smart football people, but they haven't functionally operated an offense the way that they're doing it now. So maybe, I'm not saying Mac Jones was operating at AP calculus levels in his second year, but maybe just working with a rookie has made it easier for everyone to sort of establish some building blocks that'll probably serve them well going forward.
That's a great point.
It is.
Hey, Mike, I'd like to switch it over to the defense, because this game was intriguing, because I think both teams had the same goals coming in. I think they both wanted to run the football and, protect their backup quarterbacks and, stop the run. But I thought the Patriots did a great job. If you had told me on Friday, afternoon that they would hold Cleveland to only 70 yards rushing, I would have asked you to pass me whatever it is you were smoking.
Yep.
But they did it. I thought they did a great job, and they did it without having to sell out, like Cleveland was doing. And I thought that was the big difference in the game. What was your take on that?
I wonder how much of an impact the Kyle Duggar interception on the opening drive changed the whole complexion, where it had to hurt Jacoby Brissett's confidence, and it had to hurt the coaching staff's confidence in his ability. Because if you looked at his stats through the year, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, Brissett was very bad in the fourth quarter and was pretty good in the first half. So to start the game off that way maybe it cut them off at the knees and changed their whole approach. But yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb had 56, 58 yards on like a dozen carries. It was pedestrian, which he is absolutely not. So it's a credit. I mean, to me, I don't have statistics or data on this, but just the way Dietrich Wise is playing this year, I didn't have that on my expectations during the summer. So he's been a game changer. He's been huge for them. And I'm not saying he was bad his first few years, but he was sort of fine.
One-dimensional.
Yeah, he was there. He was in on some plays. He wasn't not in on some other plays, but he seems to be not a game wrecker, but just sort of a subtle, consistent player that changes the whole scope of that defense. And then on the back end, the way that they tackled in the open field was magnificent. Like,
yeah, it really was.
Teams need to stop running, jet sweeps or wide receiver screens or anything that puts a wide receiver blocking Kyle Duggar on the outside. It's just stop doing that. Just call it off, run a play up the middle.
Don't listen to Hurley. Please keep trying to do that. Please keep trying to do that. Yeah, Dietrich Wise.
It's funny. Another caveat for me. I was stationed in North Carolina, being in the military, and I've been to that tiny college that Kyle Duggar played at, and I was not on board with taking a kid from there. I mean, you talk about tiny. That's like I've been to high school football games with more people than they probably pack in there. But boy, he is really coming on into his own. And I think he was another great addition to this team.
Yep. I'd throw Adrian Phillips in there as someone who's changed the complexion of the defense. Like those guys, I guess the position's morphed more than we might recognize because those guys are sort of that hybrid where you're lighter at linebacker, but heavier at safety. That without those guys, it's hard to imagine how they'd even play defense. So credit to that pick, more than the Cole Strange pick. That pick was like, I thought I was being pranked. I thought the TV broke when they said Lenore Ryan University. Like I had never in my life heard of it. And I was like, I'm not writing this story. I'm being pranked.
Right.
I'm going to give this 5 minutes to see what settles in. And then they were like, nope, Kyle Duggar, Lenore Ryan. And I was like, and that was after they didn't make a pick in the first round. I forget if they traded out or if they didn't have one, but so it's like you're waiting to day 2. All right, second round, here it is. And it was like, excuse me, like Lenore Ryan. I had to Google it every time to make sure I spelled it right, but it's another one of those finds. And, maybe they could have got him later, but it's the same thing with Cole Strange. If they can play, who cares when you took them?
That's
exactly.
Yeah.
But I was even worse at the time because I was like, my boss, who I write for, called me up and he goes, "Are you familiar with Lenore Ryan?" And I was like, "It's about the size of a high school in North Carolina."
It's incredible. It's funny though because I think it was Bert Breer tweeted out a picture of where Bailey Zappi played at college. It was a Texas Baptist or something, and there's the field, there's bleachers on one side, and then literally right by the end zone there's a CVS. Which is like, I mean, that's convenient. If you need a Gatorade, if you need a Band-Aid, it's all right.
That's handy.
Yeah. So it's just funny. I personally, I'm like a sucker for like the human stories, like the perseverance. Like for as much as Tom Brady was the ultimate underdog thing, like he did go to Michigan and he did play in the Orange Bowl. It wasn't like this out of nowhere story. So these guys, I like a lot more. Like you read about Cole Strange running hills in the summer in Tennessee and all that. Like, I don't know. Those stories, they always interest me.
I remember David Patton, carrying coffee bags, off of a truck while he was waiting for somebody to give him a shot. So
there you go. Claire?
I just wanted to back up Mike's memory. It was Nick Chubb did go for 56 yards. Well done. So your memory's fine. There's nothing to worry about completely. I am going to have to bounce it back to the offense. I do apologize because I wanted to sneak this in quickly because there always has to be some tight end each time. And the tight ends did really well. Even Steve gave them an A, I believe, or A-. So, yeah.
No, it was
so we all
a D-.
It wasn't a D-. If it was a D-, I'd know about it because I'd be shouting at you. So, because we all saw that there was some success with the tight endage. Mike, what do you think the key was to that success? Because we know what these two guys can do, and by that I mean Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. So, why do you think that we have now suddenly, finally, I want to say also as a fan, seen what they can do, that they both lit up in a game? What do you believe the key is to unlocking that?
Well, I think Henry's pretty consistent. I know he's not always going to have, 4 for 60 and a touchdown, but I think with Jonnu, we're realizing like they need to scheme things specifically for him to get him involved. He's not someone that, might fit into a normal route pattern or like they need to have a play that's a Jonnu play. I feel, I haven't broken it down maybe as deeply as necessary to make that statement, but it feels like when he contributes, it's because coming out of the huddle, the quarterback is looking for him and it's schemed up that way. And honestly, I think they should do it more because he is good with the ball in his hands. I don't know how much that game against the Saints last year submarined his chances to have more opportunities like that. But to me, they went out and got him for a reason. Bill Belichick called him one of the best yards after catch guy in the league prior to getting him. So to me, it's about getting the ball in his hands in space and seeing what he can do. And maybe a play like that he had last week will result. You don't need 10 targets, but if it's 3, 4, 5 plays every game where he's the primary option, I think you're a better offense with that. And maybe that ties into, running some slants for Devontae Parker, some smarter, just useful plays to keep drives moving. I mean, that's the biggest thing. When the offense isn't clicking and they're punting and they're 3 and out, it's those plays that maybe aren't game breakers, but make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, good question from Ray in the chat room. I don't know if you can see this or not. Hey, do you think the O-line continues to do well with protection with whoever is under center?
It's not about anything but right tackle to me. I mean, it's a problem. Everyone else
Marcus Cannon starts on Sunday.
Yeah, to me, Cannon is just working into game shape. I think that's a hard thing to just step in and do. So he's been getting his reps. He's been playing well. I mean, we haven't pinpointed him for any faults. The win thing is bad. I don't know. I'm sure you all saw his Pro Football Focus grade was a 5 out of 100 on Sunday, which I was thinking, and I have a tremendous respect for professional athletes. I have tremendous respect for tackles in the NFL, especially. I think it's one of the hardest jobs in the world. But could you get a 5? Like, could you get a 5? You could get close, though. Maybe a 3?
I could get a 7.
I think you could outperform the 5.
Yep. I think I could outperform the 5. I think I could get a 7. You could kick me out from center to right tackle, and I would get you a 7, Michael.
I appreciate the confidence. But the point is, I mean, Cannon can fill in, and that's fine, but you're still one pulled quad, hip injury, thigh injury, anything from Wynn being right back in there. So to me, Wynn has to be better. And that's, maybe a sneaky thing. We talk about the loss of McDaniels, and the loss of Ivan Fears, the loss of a number of coaches. I still think not having Dante to fix so many things is
his footwork is awful right now. His footwork is so abysmal right now that he can't. He's not putting himself even in a position after his first step to be able to do anything, and it's really aggravating because I've seen him do this so often from the other side of it. At least not to this extent as to how bad it is. And Dante, to your point, has come in and been able to fix him in a workout or 3. And maybe you're right. Somebody just give a call. Just call Dante and ask him to talk to Win, please.
If I'm Dante, I'm like, $3 million. I'll come down there for a week. But and again, it kind of goes into the coaching setup. All those losses, and you only hire Patricia and Judge. Is his offensive line coach is so busy and preoccupied with so many other responsibilities that Win isn't coming to the sideline and getting Dante on a knee saying, we got to do this, X, Y, and Z. The offensive line coach is calling plays. He's sitting with Mac or he's talking to whoever. And there's a lot of moving parts, and all due respect to Billy Yates, he's not Dante Scarnecchia. So there's a lack of coaching there that is hurting them. And that's, theoretically and also physically. I mean, Brian Hoyer literally got hurt by it. We've now got 2 strip sacks from it. It's a problem.
It is, and just to keep with that, the Patriots had 12 penalties for almost 100 yards this week. With me, this goes directly to focus and coaching. Can they continue to be successful with this much laundry on the field?
It's a good question, and I think that's a maybe a subtle aspect of this Zappy mania fever that's getting overlooked. Is you've got delay of games, you've got false starts, and it's not a knock on Zappy at all. It's just not going to be a crisp operation when you have a rookie fourth rounder starting games on the road. There's going to be hiccups. You're going to have timeouts. You're going to have pre-snap mistakes like that you kind of have to expect. Now, has the offense been perfectly crisp with Mac in there? No. There's been false starts. There's been delays of game. There's been wasted timeouts. But I think you like your chances better with someone with a little bit more experience to clean that part up. Yep. As for the rest of it, I'd have to look at the list. I mean, there's going to be holds. There's going to be pass interference. There's going to be, I'm sorry that some controversies taking place amongst the hosts. But to me, it's those pre-snap ones that need to get cleaned up. And unfortunately, I don't know, we don't get too much of an explanation from Bill. It's always we got to coach better. And it's like,
right.
All right, well, why are the delay of games? Is the play getting in late? Is the huddle breaking late? Is the processing slow? I mean, it would be nice to get more details, but I think we can fill in the blanks ourselves.
Right. And Hunter Henry needs to stop moving.
Well, a lot of them need to stop moving.
There you go.
I think they all took a turn being having a false start on Sunday. I know Wynn had one, Brown had one, Henry had one. I think Parker had one too.
Everybody but Andrews.
Yeah. Well, those guys in the middle, they don't move because they watch the center's hands. So,
there you go.
But hey, Michael, I want to go back to the defense. You know, one of the things that we all thought was going to be a big question mark this year, so far, and granted they haven't, faced a murderer's row of quarterbacks yet, has been the play of the secondary. And so far this year, the secondary's held up pretty well, especially these young guys that are coming in, playing some meaningful snaps. What's your take on this secondary right now? I think all these safeties have had kind of a good effect on the way they can mix and match.
For sure. I mean, I can't name a Patriot rookie with the confidence of Jack Jones. I can't to come out and say it's disrespectful to throw an out route on me. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but that stood out to me as a very rare moment in Patriots history. But he's been good. I thought the play Marcus Jones made, it might have been an interception. It would have been worth a challenge if it was on first or second down, but there was a punt coming anyway. So the ball skills anyway to be out there. Jalen Mills, I think, has been solid. I think he took a DPI on Sunday, but one of those could have been called, could have not been called. And in the move of Jonathan Jones to the outside seemed odd considering how good he was in the slot, but he's handled it well too. And then just for good measure, throwing in J.C. Jackson getting benched on Monday Night Football, it does speak to, Bill Belichick knowing what he's doing, which should be a given, but sometimes we have questions about given some personnel moves. So it has looked good. Again, to your point, when they face Josh Allen, probably not going to matter. When they face who else is on the schedule after the vaunted Justin Fields game, I don't know. I mean, they're going to win some games. Some of those games have also not, the games that you circled as difficult going in, like maybe Derek Carr and the Raiders looked like a tough one. Maybe Kyler Murray in Arizona looked like a tough one. Maybe the Joe Burrow game got a little bit easier. So, outside of the Bills games, maybe there's not impending doom the way that maybe we thought in the summer, and maybe that turns some projected L's into wins.
I don't like how the Jets are getting kind of sneaky, maybe a bit good. I'm not liking this. It's unrest. Don't
real
like
frisky.
this at all.
I think that's good.
Very frisky.
It's good for football. I mean, I think about it like the Rex Ryan era was like we would go in the press box, and if you don't know, like there's the blue level, which is where most people sit, and there's 3 levels, and it's like the whole corner of the end zone. It's a lot of seats in there. When the Jets would come in 2010, I remember Monday Night Football, the 45-3 game, they had to build bleachers basically in the red level underneath with another 3 rows of seats, like temporary seating. You couldn't even get a seat if you weren't, somebody at some major publication. Like it was that, level of focus for a Monday night game in December. I think that was great for football attention. It's been so long since the Patriots-Jets rivalry existed. Like, it's been really a decade plus. I mean, the Jets have won a couple games in there, but I think the Patriots are like 14-2 versus the Jets in the past 8 years, maybe. So I say bring it on. I think it's good for business. I think it's good for excitement. And honestly, I'm sure Patriots fans enjoy watching them beat the crap out of the Jets, but it gets a little old at a certain point. Like, let's have a fair fight and see how it goes.
I have to disagree. I don't think he gets old at all.
That's fair.
The Jets defense looks really good right now. So,
did you see that play? It was like during the Patriots game, so everything pops up on Twitter. It was Sauce Gardner. I think he was covering Lazard. There was like 7 yards of separation, and the ball was in the air, and all of a sudden,
he was just there.
He got his hands in, raked it away. It was like, oh, like that's talent. Like there's some real talent there, and
that's some closing speed there.
Yeah, and the way they played against Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that's something you can't ignore.
Yeah, it kind of ticks me off that we couldn't get the W there because the Jets ended up doing it, and I'm having to rethink a few things. Go ahead, Claire.
1st and 10 at the 50 in overtime. You gotta try to win there, please.
Come on.
No.
Sorry.
Speaking defensively, do you believe that this defense can take the Patriots far enough, or maybe the offense can pick it up enough? What's your thoughts on that matter?
I mean, I don't think they're good enough to enter that championship tier. I mean, if you watch the Bills and the Chiefs on Sunday, it's a different sport. You know, it's a different league.
Yeah.
And upsets happen, crazy things happen. I mean, the Bucs lost to the Steelers on Sunday. We can't assume anything. But like I was just saying, like, they're better than you would have thought. Some other teams are worse than you would have thought. The Raiders sticking out as one. Like, maybe that's one you just penciled in as a loss, that now it's like, wait, a pick here and some defensive stops there, and maybe that's a road win you can steal on national TV. Maybe, you know, you can confuse the hell out of Kyler Murray, which might not be much of an accomplishment anymore. So I do think if you took your preseason win-loss projection and reevaluated it now, it's probably looking a little bit better. So I don't think that elevates them necessarily to real contention, but maybe it does get them to that point. We know what the mandate is from Robert Kraft, and that's win a freaking playoff game.
Right.
Cannot stand for 3 years without a playoff win here. Unacceptable, which is funny to think about. Most places that's sort of the norm, but here we have different standards. So maybe you are getting to that level if things continue to progress, if the rookies stay good, if you stay healthy. I mean, there's a lot of ifs, but I think it's reasonable if you took a different approach than you might have taken 2 months ago. Okay,
for fun, while we've got you then, while we're on that topic, I'm going to shoot out every single opponent that they've got, and I want you to predict win or loss then. I'm just going to have to scoot back. But there's only a few. It'll only take a few minutes. Okay, so we've got the Bears next. So you've got that in as a win.
Loss. Justin Fields for 500 yards. No, just kidding.
Are you insane?
The Fields medal.
The Jets.
I think they're going to split with the Jets, so you can win-loss there.
The Colts.
Probably a win. Not like in the Colts.
Jets again.
Well, whatever one you put there, flip the other one. They're going to split those two.
Oh, okay. The Vikings at Minnesota.
I don't like them in Minnesota on a short week, so we'll say loss, but yeah, they're going to have to lose some games.
The Bills at home?
Not a win, I will say.
The Bills, that's lovely the way that you put that. I love it. The Cardinals at Arizona.
I'm putting that as a win. The Cardinals absolutely smell.
Best second baseman in the NFL.
The Raiders.
I might like that as a win. You know, things are going bad out there. Worse than I would have thought. I thought McDaniels was prepped and primed for round number 2, but off to a rough start.
You reckon he's sacked at the end of the year if it's a very unsuccessful?
I don't think so, because they put in with not just him but with Ziegler too. All those, it was a big investment, but to get worse in year one for a team that went to the playoffs with Rick Bisaccia, a special teams coach as the head coach, that's not what you're looking for.
Be honest now. If they did, would you find any glee in the fact?
Glee?
Yeah.
What, that if he got fired?
Yeah.
No. I think McDaniels in 2009 was young and a bit foolish and a bit hard-headed, and he said it a lot. I believed him. I believed he learned his lesson to approach with the more humility and more openness. And I think he has. It just hasn't worked out. So I'm not rooting against him by any means.
No.
Okay, fair enough. The Bengals.
Oh, they look pretty bad too.
I predicted Petraglia got pissed at me, but I predicted that team wasn't going to make it to the playoffs this year.
And given the way they looked at the end of last year, I would have said no way. But they're coming here, if I'm not mistaken, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor versus Bill Belichick. I think we might be able to get back to that, where we can say like the other Kevin Stefanski versus Bill Belichick. Forget about it. So I'll go W there, which in August was an L.
Yep.
I love that it's a 1 o'clock. I know obviously a lot of people in the US probably aren't really fussed because it's a 1 p.m. game, so it's like, oh, it's not prime time. For me, that's amazing. That's like a Christmas present for me. Christmas Eve, I can watch the Patriots play. I'm just like, fantastic. It's amazing.
That's what they were thinking about, Claire.
Oh yeah, if only, yep. as he was preparing for his marriage. Miami Dolphins.
Put it as a W, but there's so many variables with their quarterback. You want to talk about drafts? I looked into that Skylar Thompson fella that the Dolphins drafted and played a quarterback. He threw 12 touchdowns for Kansas State last year. I don't watch Kansas State football, so I'd never seen him play. But in 2019, he threw 12 touchdowns. And in 2021, he threw 12 touchdowns. I was like, you didn't have to draft this guy. But, kind of a moot point now with Teddy Bridgewater taking the spot back. But I don't know what the Dolphins will look like then. But I guess optimistically, you could call that a season split.
Do you think that the Patriots can round it out going to Buffalo and beating the Bills at the very end of the season? No, look at Steve's face.
Only if the Bills
not unless the whole team gets pneumonia.
So the Bills are 5-1 now. Let's say they're still not good at the 17. Let's say they're 14-2 heading into that game. Maybe they don't need to win it. Maybe they already have the head-to-head tiebreaker with Kansas City and have home field wrapped up and rest. Yeah, but short of that, best versus best, no way.
Unless there's another hurricane.
always a possibility in Western New York.
So on the back of that, Chris has asked, which NFL team has surprised you the most for being good or for being bad?
You can't not answer with the Eagles. I thought we'd get their stumble Sunday night, and we almost did. They almost kicked it away. But, credit to them, they're good. And you talk about, if we're just eating crow, when Nick Sirianni was introduced as the head coach and had that press conference, I was like, might last 2 weeks. This is bad. But, once again, Mike Hurley was wrong. Not a shocker there. But, no, they're playing well. It's hard not to say them because I don't think anyone was talking about the Eagles going into the year as a real, best team in the NFL type consideration. So, credit to them. And then, I guess on the flip side, no one asked, but the Bucs are so bad. The Bucs are, and I might have expected that because I don't know that Todd Bowles is much of a head coach. I don't. Speaking about the Jets rivalry being dormant here for so long, Todd Bowles had a hand in that. So, but just the lack of inspiration from Tom Brady and lack of all-inness, which is a word I just came up with. That's been surprising. We always thought Tom Brady would physically decline at some point, but to just emotionally be checked out and half in, that's been shocking on the flip side of that.
Yeah, that offense is bad right now.
Uninspired.
They just don't look good.
Tom should have went to the walkthrough and skipped the wedding.
I agree. It's bizarre. He didn't even look like he was having fun at the wedding. Right. Standing in the back, just Drew's here.
I don't think he's having fun at all right now. With all the stuff going on in his personal life.
And actually, that picture of him next to Drew looks like he's in better condition right now than Tom.
It's true.
Tom looks like his face is eating his cheeks right now.
I wonder if Tom was Randy, you really can't give me 12 snaps a week? Just 12 snaps. That's all I want, please.
That's it.
You're tall. You're still tall.
That's all I want. Hey, but one more thing. Matthew Judon has just been phenomenal to this point in time. But one of the things that I've noticed and we've noticed here on the show is the fact that he's being rested a bit more. Do you think that this is a smart play and it's going to keep him healthy throughout the season? We saw that drop off last year, late in the year, but this year it seems like he's being used more as a pass rusher and not an every down guy.
Yeah, for sure. And again, sort of similar to the McDaniels buying into what they say. If we take everyone at their face value word, which I do sometimes, Matthew Judon was pretty honest and said, like, I need to be, in position to be in better physical condition at the end of the year. Maybe he did wear out, and maybe you don't think it with the pass rusher because they're just running after the guy, but the wear and tear on the quads, on the hammies, on the calves, like they do have bodies and they do wear out. So I do think using him more judiciously,
sparingly. Yeah, there you
go. Thank you. I graduated high school. It only took 6 years, but using him with more thought and not just emptying the tank early is probably smart because it was bad at the end of last year. It was just I'm trying to think like Mike Rabel at the end, where it's just was it? What year was that? His last year? 07?
2008.
08. So, because they traded him with Castle next year. So it was just like you knew he was coming off the edge, and you knew someone was going to pick him up, and it was just basically so that's what Judon turned into at the end of last year. And I think if you can avoid that and pick up some wins along the way, it's certainly smart because when he is on, it's game changing.
Just piggybacking off of that, have you heard anything about Barmore?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, it also helps having Anthony Jennings. He's shown he's able to play. He had, I think it was 3 quarterback hits and a half sack on Sunday.
Not too shabby.
It's a fact.
Not to tap back to what we talked about before, and I hate to go back to talking about Tom Brady, but I do need to give Joel credit for this because this is very clever. Tom looks like the picture of Dorian Gray as it started to turn. I just need to do a quick bravo because that's epic. Okay, sorry, we can now move on.
I'm gonna Google Dorian Gray. Is that like a vampire movie?
No, the Portrait of Dorian Gray was a book where a man sold his soul to be immortal, but he couldn't look at his a painting.
No, he didn't age. The painting aged and he didn't age.
Right. He sold his soul, and the reason he couldn't look at his painting again because then he would age the way the painting did. The painting kept aging while he didn't. And if he saw the painting, then he would the spell would be broken and he would automatically age and die. Have you ever seen A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Mike?
I have not. And just a little bit about me. If it's a book, I probably didn't read it. So
okay, that's good.
All right.
You're taking it from that movie. No, never mind. Okay. Moving swiftly along. Just quickly, because I wanted to quickly ask you this question actually, because you're talking about Eagles, and I wanted to touch on. Do you have an opinion? Nelson Aguilar, is there now no room at the inn, do you think?
I mean, 2 fumbles and coughing up an interception in 5 weeks is tough. And if it was out of the blue, just a bad stretch, you could say that. But we know the way Philly fans thought about Nelson Aguilar coming in. It's not exactly
they warned us
nowhere. So I don't know. And I mentioned earlier, Jonnu Smith basically getting put in the back burner after that Saints game last year. There's nothing the Patriots and Bill Belichick value more than ball security. So if that continues, and you do have to individualize it. Like his fumble in Miami, I don't really fault him for. He caught the ball, turned around, and got popped. The second one I do, where he didn't know he was being chased from behind on a huge play against Baltimore. So it's not necessarily black and white, like you fumbled, you're bad. And we've seen that through the times, like, with whether it was like Ridley fumbling and getting benched and other guys fumbling and not getting benched. There are evaluations to each turnover, but I don't know. With Parker looking the way he does and the way Thornton has sort of fit in, there's probably going to be less. But at the same time, Kendrick Bourne with his turf toe could open another slot if Aguilar is healthy. So I would imagine
it's turf toe.
Did
they call it turf toe? Is it?
I think my brother Phil Perry reported turf toe yesterday. So I'm sure Phil's right because he's a gentleman.
He's always right.
And a scholar. So, maybe it's probably going to be juggling like that. Like I'm sure Parker will get banged up at some point and there'll be some juggling. So I don't think he's out, but maybe not a featured player.
Great stuff.
All right, bud, we're right up against it. I want to thank you again for making the time. It was fantastic. We kind of had to finagle Mike in here. He thought I was talking about last week when I was saying, hey, no, Murph, I can't make it that day. It's my first day back to work. And I'm like, no, the week after. Oh, damn, he caught me. Okay. So I got to do the show. As
I said, I was never, no one ever said I could read a DM. Like, there's so many words. There was like 13 words in it. I wasn't going to read all of them.
Wow, when I sent an email, was that even worse?
Where did you go to college?
Roger Williams University in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Some of the best landscaping you'll ever see on a college campus.
Oh,
beautiful.
Fantastic.
Mount Hope Bridge.
It's a beautiful.
Google image search it. You'll be like, I'd go there. Nice place.
There goes Butchie through here. But yeah, no, it is a beautiful place. I want to thank you for making the time and remembering to come in this morning. Tell everybody what you've got going over there at WVZ and CBS and where they can follow you on social medias, bud.
Yeah, I mean, at Michael F. Hurley on Twitter. I don't ever recommend it, but if you're up for it, it's there. I have a Facebook page with like 9 fans, one of whom is my mom, where I just put links because it's hard to find my links. So it's just sort of, I think there's a link in my Twitter. If you ever want to read my stories, that should bring you to most of them. But again, Twitter is sort of at your own
risk.
Risk is probably the best word. Yeah.
I love some of your sarcastic tweets.
Me too.
It's
I hate Facebook.
Don't. He's being humble, people.
It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone.
His Twitter feed is a blast, and it's one of my favorite follows. Claire,
Shall I requote the tweet that never happened?
No, never happened.
No.
Didn't tweet it.
Didn't tweet it. Didn't happen. So let it be tweeted. So let it be done.
Great.
It wasn't tweeted. So we can't bring it back up. Take us out, Claire.
Well, as you guessed it, guys, that is the end of the show. Huge thanks to Michael Hurley for his time and his insight. We are Steve Balistreri, Thomas Murphy, Claire Clausey, Claire Cooper. This has been One Patriots Place Live. Please tune in next time and go Pats.